delivered in two parts. Nicolina Kukoc from Split Tech City will follow. We are dividing it into the lens of attracting and accommodating digital nomads and then amazing them to amplify that message and ensure there's a cyclical return and as well as outreach to new digital nomads. Something that I do want to stress, and we have this audience here today, is the need for public sector support, not only in this initiative, but in the presentations which we've seen with the airport, lights and gastro and the ones to follow. So it's all intended as constructive because there are certainly opportunities for all of us. Next slide, please. So why should we care? Why should we care about digital nomads, this term that we keep hearing? Here's one reason why. So this amount, next slide please, is based on what the average spend is. So some of you may know or have seen Steve Tensorensky. He's a contributor for CNBC. His videos go viral. He currently lives on $1,400 in Zagreb. We know that the cost of living on some of these platforms is higher in Split. Next slide, please. We also have the data on the average number of digital nomads that are coming to Split every month. So if 943, which is the average, are spending 1,500 euros, this is how much is coming in each month on average. So we can't say that there's no funds available to support this audience because we know directly how much this audience is bringing in each month. Next slide, please. But that number's not the only thing that actually matters. Things that are more sustainable in their direction with tourism bring many other benefits. And as a business owner, as well as co-founder of the Digital Nomad Association in Croatia, we know that digital nomads bring these kinds of things to destinations. So there are new jobs, there's staff retention by remaining open for restaurants over winter seasons. There's new business streams that come out of it, knowledge exchange, and of course, remaining competitive. So there are now over 40 countries that are offering digital nomad visas, not only Croatia, so we no longer have an advantage as we were with being a first mover. We need to keep lifting our game, and we can see how we can do that. Next slide, please. So some of you may know what this animal is. This is a Boshkarin cow from Central Istria. And I want to show you a table next on how Split ranks, because at the moment, Central Istria, their public sector, is doing a lot more than Split is. Next slide, please. So these stats are from a recent national presentation from the Digital Nomad Association. The numbers on the first column are from Nomad List, which is publicly available to all of you to take a look at. Split is far and away the winner here with close to 1,000 digital nomads per month on this platform alone. So we know there are more than this. This is what we're using as our baseline. We can also see from the events that we know how many private-led events are held per month, and also the number of public supported digital nomad projects per major city in Croatia. This slide will be available to anyone who wants it after this presentation. And we do know that there are other initiatives happening in Central Istria. They have a wonderful website that is up. It is informative, it showcases their entire region, and they've just gone for some national funding, which closed yesterday. So they're very active. We know Osijek are doing things, we know Bjelovar are doing things, Samobor, Trogir, and that's why we're here today. So hopefully that zero up there changes very soon to a positive for Split. Next slide, please. So it's not enough to rest on that confidence of the private sector leading this. On Nomad List, you can all access this yourself. I sourced this today. There are 200 remote workers currently in Split, just on this platform alone. Next slide, please. So to bring up that calculation, that's 300,000 euro being injected this month just from digital nomads. So we have 200 in Split. Next slide, please. 1,400 in Zagreb, who, may I add, did a winter initiative during Advent, specifically targeting digital nomads. It was a jolly wrap-up for their Advent program. Next slide, please. So that equates to 2 million into their local economy, if the average is 1,500. I do know for a fact many nomads spend more than this. So if you're earning 100,000 US dollars, you might be spending 30% each month, and that's 2,500. So 1,500 is what we consider a modest amount, but we're going with that as our average. Next slide, please, Nick. So what have we done about it, these private-led initiatives? Well, I did contact the City of Split. We had a meeting really quickly, arranged by someone who had more of an in. Seems you still need to know someone here to get noticed. A proposal was sent within a week. I followed up 2 days before I flew to Australia. It's the 1st of March and we still have had no response. Next slide, please. Compared to other cities. Next slide. So the public sector in other major cities, we've had Dubrovnik in 2020, 2021, and again this year. We have Zagreb. Next slide, please. And we've had global attention. Hopefully you can see some of these media outlets down here in business, travel, other industry and research areas who are covering what is happening, and they are naming these other destinations, Zagreb, Dubrovnik, with very little mention of Split so far. Next slide, please. So public support is vital. It will ensure something will remain like this will remain sustainable. So let's look at what some of these low-cost ideas are and the investments that are needed. The good news is there's not a lot. You have a lot of it here from what you've seen in this presentation and what you'll see from Split Tech City. Next slide, please. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Facebook. A Facebook group that I started and is co-hosted by 45 Degrees as well in the room, now has 1,700 members. Next slide, please. So if only half of those members who we see and read and interact with every day come, that's 1.275 mil coming into the Split economy. So if we ask for something like a community manager, I don't think there's any more argument to say there's no funding for these things, because this is that direct connection. It's not just wasted advertising dollars to support this initiative as we go forward. Next slide, please. So what are some of these low-cost things? Well, as you probably know when you travel yourselves, online search is one of the first things that happen. Forums such as Facebook, such as Nomad List, we know where the nomads go. We know what they need to hear, and they often reach out to local contacts, and that's what starts and makes the decision for them on where they will go and when they will go there. Reviews as well, meetups. So there's been so many things happening from the local sector in Split that there's a regular meetup now over winter, and we know that that has made a difference. And I'm sure some of the business owners in the room here can give you their direct experiences. I can't see everyone in the room because you're all very small on the screen, but please reach out to people and share some of your knowledge. What has been working and how? Something that's not low cost are events. Speakers, if you want to attract, crowds to come, they don't charge small fees. The US rate compared to the Croatia rate, we really need to up our game and invest in these things. Next slide, please. So what do we mean when we say, so we've had attract, but what do we mean when we say accommodate? So this is in a couple of ways. There's co-working, there's work from home or from a cafe, as well as accommodation. Accommodation is an issue not limited to Split, but so far there's not been much action to actually address this. So next slide, please. So co-working and cafes, again, Split has several specialty coffee cafes in the city, and these things are like gold. They're the jackpot. That is what will make someone decide on where they're going to come. Some of them didn't even have the opportunity to pay digitally. So if we're not supporting these kinds of businesses with what they need for this audience, we're going to lose out on them. Municipal fees, you know, these small costs make a huge difference to a small business, and so support is needed. So is prioritising fast internet. This is the first thing that people are looking for, how fast or how slow a location is. When it comes to work from home, we also need to educate renters. So this is in the amenities. Do they have a good chair? Are there coat hangers? Is there somewhere to cook or wash your clothes? If not, where do they go? The Wi-Fi, the price, is it certified, building in a system like this, and also availability. Go to the next slide. This is a common experience for anyone looking for accommodation. I know our focus is autumn and winter in this roundtable. However, if you're looking to stay in Split because you're on a digital nomad visa, you can't find anywhere to stay. Next slide, please. So currently, there are no incentives for someone with an apartment to offer long stay or to do something different, like an adjustment in spring and summer with their prices. I'm not saying to reduce it down to a monthly level, but adding in some sort of incentive so that there are at least some properties available, and having some sort of certification. The Digital Nomad Association is looking at this, but we need to work with cities as well to enable these kinds of things. There's also no protection. If someone gets kicked out because they get a seasonal renter, what will they do? And also no official information for digital nomad. So is something a tourist rental where you have to pay a city tax every night? Or is it a rental contract where you must go to the Javni Bilježnik? If you're a digital nomad coming in, you don't know these things, and so you're at risk here. Next slide, please. Also, information is vital on official sources. We currently have nothing on the Split Tourist Board site, whereas other cities and regions, which you can hopefully see, Zagreb has the dedicated area, Dubrovnik, Slavonia, Istria, Central Istria. Split must be next with these simple, low cost and easy to execute effects. Next slide, please. So just to recap on this first part, the strategy that we need is to work together and to create ways where there are public support, where we can attract and accommodate, and as you'll soon see, amaze and amplify the message so that we get more digital nomads coming and staying in Split. Thank you.
Hvala Tanji. Nastavit će prezentaciju gospođica Kukoć, Tech City Split, vezano na ovu temu, a evo ja bih samo dodala